अच्छा जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम. So, I hope you all are well. Let's continue with the embryology. We were talking about the third week. We talked about the development of the epiblast, hypoblast. We talked about the coelom cavity. What was the ultimate fate of that? Now we are going to consider or talk about the trophoblast. That is the cells which were there on the outside, the two layers, because we said the one is going to be the trophoblast and the other is going to be the embryoblast. So we have talked about the embryoblast. Now we're going to talk about the trophoblast. The trophoblast, I told you, is going to be divided into two layers, that is cytotrophoblast and the syncytiotrophoblast. This cytotrophoblast and syncytiotrophoblast, this is going to participate in the formation of the placenta. Now, what changes are going to occur in this trophoblast? At the beginning of the third week, this trophoblast is going to form villi. Villi are nothing but small projections, finger-like projections, which are going to extend from the cytoblast, the trophoblastic core outside towards the syncytiotrophoblast. So please remember that cytotrophoblast is the inner layer and syncytiotrophoblast is the outer layer. So cytotrophoblast are going to protrude into the syncytiotrophoblast. That is the first step. This projection is what we call as the primary villi.
मैम वॉइस क्लियर
Then
नहीं है.
वॉइस क्लियर नहीं है, क्या हुआ है? ओके, कैन यू हियर मी नाउ क्लियर? So that was the formation of the primary villi. Then the next step is going to be the formation of the secondary villi. That is, another change is going to occur in this layer. That is, there is going to be protrusion of the mesodermal cells, because we know that the extraembryonic mesoderm is onto the inner side of the trophoblast, so that the extraembryonic mesoderm, that is going to project into this primary finger-like projection, that is the primary villi. So you have three layers into this. This process is what we're going to call at the secondary villus. I'll show you a picture. So the outermost would be your syncytiotrophoblast. Then you are going to have the inner one. Second layer is going to be the cytotrophoblast, and then the inner to that is going to be the mesoderm, and this mesoderm is going to be the extraembryonic mesoderm. Then the next step which is going to occur is there is going to be development of blood vessels in this mesoderm, this in projection of the mesoderm into it. This is going to be the villus capillaries. This is now called as the tertiary villus. That is when there is formation of the blood vessels in the villus, that is into the mesoderm, that is going to be called as the tertiary villus. This is the development, initial development of the placenta. If you see this picture, that was the embryoblast on the inner side. The pinkish structure that is there is your mesoderm, that is the extraembryonic mesoderm. Then the light green on the outer side, that is cytotrophoblast, and then the darker green, that is your syncytiotrophoblast. So then there is the three layers. If you see this formation, the first is you have a projection of the light green with covering of the darker green on the outside. That is primary villus. Then the pink invades into this projection. This is called your secondary villus. And now in this picture, you can see that there is invasion or formation of blood vessels in this projection, which has become the tertiary villus. So if I go back, if you see this in the primary villus, it's just the projection of the cytotrophoblast into the outer side, that is your syncytiotrophoblast. Next is going to occur is this pink thing, that is your extraembryonic mesoderm. This is going to project into the primary villi. This, and then this mesoderm is going to give rise to the development of the blood vessels. This development of the blood vessels is together is going to be called as your tertiary villus. So we have three steps, and if you see this picture, it shows you a cut section of all the three types of villi. This first one is the inner core is the cytotrophoblast covered by the syncytiotrophoblast. Then the secondary villus is the invagination of your mesoderm, that is going to be called as your secondary villus. And when there is formation of these blood vessels into this mesoderm, it is going to be called as the tertiary villus. So these are the projections of the trophoblast which are going to participate into the formation of the placenta. So this is, you can say, a link between the developing embryo with the decidua or the maternal aspect. Now you see that at the end of the third week, we have formed this tertiary villus. This is the outer green is syncytial trophoblast, lighter green is your cytotrophoblast, then the pink with the blood vessels is your mesoderm with the blood vessels. Those are your tertiary villi. This is then going to extend, the cytotrophoblast is going to extend on the outer side, connecting trophoblast from both the sides, and that is going to form as what we call as your outer cytotrophoblastic shell. This outer trophoblastic shell is going to invade the outer surface where you can see the endometrium. This is going to invade into the endometrium, and this is how your blood vessels between the mother and the growing embryo, they are going to become into continuation. So this is the villus system that has developed in this layer. Capillaries in the tertiary villus, they make contact with the mesoderm of the chorionic plate, that is on the inner side, that is the embryo. If you see this, the pink one, that is connecting stalk, and the chorionic plate, that is the extraembryonic mesoderm. They make connection with that on the inner side, and then on the outer side with the uh, maternal endometrium. So basically these villi are nothing but they are connecting the placenta that is on the outer side, and you can say these villi are the fetal contribution towards the placenta and the embryo which is there on the inner side. So the first organ which starts to beat is the heart. So the heart begins to beat in roughly in the fourth week, that is this formation. The villus system is ready to supply the embryo proper with the essential nutrients and the oxygen. You know that the embryo, as it is developing, it needs to have blood circulation and to grow. So I'll just tell you how the steps of the circulatory contribution towards the embryo there, what happens in the first week, then in the second, and then the third. And ultimately, till the fourth week, you have the formation of the heart. So we say that heart is the first system which is going to circulate, or you can say the CVS is the first system which is going to circulate because it has to support the growing embryo. Next step that is going to occur in this is your neurulation, that is the formation of the neural tube. When I told you about the notochord, I also told you that the ectoderm on the surface is going to give rise to the neural tube that is going to develop into your nervous system. The process involved in the formation of this neural plate, the ectoderm on the surface of the trilaminar disc, that is going to first form what we call as the neural plate, that ectoderm layer. This neural plate is flat and it folds to form a tubular structure, and then it closes and forms a complete tubule that is going to be called as the neural tube. And this process, as we called the previous one as gastrulation, the trilaminar formation, this is called the neurulation. So the ectoderm on the surface, if I show you this picture, if you see this picture, this is the ectoderm on the surface. This is a flat plate that is then going to be called as the neural plate, because it is said that these oropharyngeal membranes and cloacal membranes, the areas where you have the endoderm and the ectoderm in continuity, they are going to stimulate the formation of the nervous system. So this grooved area is going to be called as your neural plate. This neural plate is going to develop a groove in the center, which is the neural groove, and then these neural groove is going to form complete rise as neural tube, and this tube is then going to complete form a tubular structure. This process is what we call as neurulation, are completed by the end of the fourth week when the closure of the caudal neuropores occurs. Now, when you form the tube, it's not going to completely close from the interior end and the caudal and the cranial end. Those openings which are there, now if you recollect that this neural plate is the topmost plate, and when we cut the section of the primitive streak, we said that we are going to cut from the top, and that is we are opening and seeing this primitive streak from the level of your amniotic cavity. So basically you can say that this ectoderm is forming the base of your amniotic cavity. So something which is going to develop into this amniotic cavity or in the ectoderm is going to have a link with the amniotic cavity, right? First, so when this neural plate and the neural tube is formed, this is going to start to close. The neural folds are going to start to close from the caudal end till the cranial end, but the two ends are going to stay open. And those openings of this tube, that means this tube is not closed anteriorly and posteriorly. These two openings are called neuropores. That is, there is an opening, pore is the opening, and neuro is something related with the neural plate. So these neuropores are still there. That means you do not completely close the tube as dead ends. During neurulation, the embryo may be referred to as neural. Okay. Now, if you see this picture, that is the, you can recollect that we have the mesoderm, we have the formation of the notochord. The blue is the neural groove, which is forming, thickening, forming the neural plate, and this neural plate is going to give rise to your neuroectoderm. Then this was neural plate. The neural plate invaginates, longitudinal median groove, neural groove. Then the neural folds, they develop as the brain, that is the cranial end. The third week where the folds fuse, approach each other in the midline, they fuse and they form cranial. They say that this fusion of the neural tube starts roughly at the level of the fifth somite. We said that at the cranial end where the somites are also used as the determination of the age of the developing embryo. So this is at the level of roughly the cervical region, which is where you have the fifth somite, the development of the fifth somite. This proceeds from the fifth somite, that is the initial portion. They do not start from the very tip and go to the caudal end. They start from the level of the fifth somite and they proceed cranially and caudally of the neural tube is formed. Till complete fusion, this cephalic and caudal ends of the neural communicate with the amniotic cavity. So I said they are not closed, they are open, and those areas are what we call as the neuropores, the interior and the posterior neuropores of the tube. The closure of the neuropore that occurs anteriorly is closed on the day fifth approximately, they say. Otherwise, till then, they are having a communication with the amniotic cavity, because both the ends of the tube are open as anterior and posterior neuropores. They are having a communication with the amniotic cavity. Then they start to close approximately the interior neuropore at the day fifth, and the posterior neuropore closes at the day 28th of the development. You see this picture, that was the flat plate. Then they start to rise. If you see in the middle, the second picture, the C1, that is the formation of the somites. This is a rough landmark that at the level of the somites, that is the third to fifth somite. And then they start to the fusion of the neural folds that occurs in the midline and the middle of this tube, and then they start to close anteriorly and posteriorly extending. And you can see that the interior end of this tube and the posterior end of this tube is open, and these are called your neuropores. So if you see in the last picture, the lower one that you can see is the interior and the posterior neuropores. So after that, you will see that then they close and they are still in communication with the amniotic cavity. Then, so now we have formed the neural tube. The neural tube has cells which are there on the folds of the edges of the folds. These are called the neuroectoderm, or the crest cells, or the borders of the neuroectoderm. They dissociate from the neighbors and they form what we call as the neural crest cells, because of the cells which are forming the margin of the, at the interior and the margin of the neural tube. They are called your neural crest cells because they lie on the edge. They leave this neural crest margin and they enter into the underlying mesoderm, because they have to give rise to their definitive things. This leaves their ectoderm and they're going to go, one pathway is dorsal way, that is they're going to go above to something what is going to develop into the skin, and they are going to contribute through the dermis. They are going to contribute to the formation of the melanocytes, that is the pigment cells, and the hair follicles. And then they form a ventral pathway through which they are going to go on to the sides of the tube, and they're going to form the ganglia. Majority of it, the ganglia, the sympathetic and the enteric neurons, Schwann cells, cells of the adrenal medulla. That's a long list what the neural crest cells are going to form. Neural crest cells also form part of the craniofacial skeleton, neurons from the cranial ganglia, glial cells, melanocytes, and other types of cells. You see these are all derivatives of the neural crest cells, which you have to remember. Connective tissue, parts of it, then Schwann cells, adrenal medulla, glial cells. So you can see majority is your part of the nervous system, then also part in the dermis in the face. There's a contribution. So the majority of it is the formation of the ganglia. If you see the spinal and the cranial ganglia. This shows you how the neural crest cells are going to dissociate. The tube is formed, the edge cells of this tube, they are going to be called the neural crest cells. And then these neural crest cells are going to separate out. If you see this F section, they are going to separate out from the neural crest, and then they are going to form as the ganglia. They go onto the either side. The developing epidermis is above that, so some of them are going to go to the dorsal aspect forming the melanocytes, and some are going to go towards the ventral aspect, that is on the sides of the neural tube, into the mesoderm, which is going to form the other parts of the ganglia. See this picture, those cells which are forming the neural crest. These neural crest cells, first they are together. When the tube closes, they are going to separate out onto the lateral side. And if you see this C picture, they are forming the lateral dorsal ganglion, and also certain cells are going to form the ganglion cells, which are going to go to the what we call as the enteric ganglia. They're going to go around the tubular structure of the gastrointestinal tract. They're going to form those ganglia that is spread out. So that is how they distribute. They go on to the sides. These are the neural crest cells. They separate out from the crest and they form the ganglion. This is also how they come from the crest. The arrow shows you where they're going to go and form a part of the ganglia of the cranial nerves. That is from to the fourth. What can be the defects which can occur in the neural tube formation? A disturbance of neurulation can result in abnormalities in the formation of brain and the spinal cord. The failure can be that the neural folds do not fuse together and they do not form a tube. Two things can occur. Either the fold is not complete and a small amount stays absent, that is called as the microanencephaly. That is partial absence of the brain. And this is a very serious defect. Anencephaly, that is absence of the development of the brain. But this is said it's not exactly a true term. It's a misnomer as we've written, because it does contribute to a small part of the nervous tissue. So we cannot completely call it that there is absence of the nervous tissue. So that is anencephaly, or it is absence of the development of the brain. Microencephaly is partial abscess that is small in size. And if this tube, it does not completely close from the posterior end, that is from the cervical region caudally, this defect is called the spina bifida. This is because it is more prominent in the lumbosacral region, and this is helped along with the formation of the vertebra. That is spina bifida. The spinal cord is protruding out from the vertebral column, that is the posterior aspect of the vertebra, and that is why it is called spina bifida. That is the protrusion of this nervous tissue from the posterior side of this developing malformed vertebra, and this is most probably commonly seen in the lumbosacral region. This may be just pure protrusion of the nervous tissue. It may be accompanied by the meninges with it, or it may be just the protrusion of all these three with the nervous element as well. So you can have three types: meningocele, meningomyelocele. That is if it has the meninges along with it, but if that doesn't make any difference. But if you have the nervous element as well along with it, that is going to be affected, and you may have the child as having the paraplegia because of the involvement of the nervous tissue. But because if it is a small amount of nervous tissue which is protruding out, that may not be very damaging. But if large amounts of nerves are there, that can affect the nervous element of the lower limbs. So children with spina bifida lose a degree of neurological function based on the spinal cord level of the lesion and its severity. This is because of genetic and environmental factors. They account for this variability too. That is how I told you it can be just spina bifida, it can be spina bifida, that is occulta. The term occulta is used because that is occult. Occult is something wherever we use this term, this means it is there but we cannot see it. It can be occult blood present in the maybe in the urine or in the stool, but when we test it, we detect it. So that is called occulta. So this is the spina bifida, small amount is there. The patient has no complaint, and it is said that this type of spina bifida or occulta is normally detected when you examine the child. He or she has a small dimple at that level in the lumbosacral region, which shows that maybe their spina bifida is there. Then you can have meningocele, that is just purely meninges are protruding out from this bifid level, or it can be meningomyelocele, that is the nervous tissue can also be protruding out. So it depends on how much abnormality is there and how much problem the baby may face. 70% of the defects can be prevented if it is said that folic acid has a large role. If you have a family history of having this nervous defects, the mother is always advised before she starts planning a family that she should take about 400 microgram of folic acid daily, beginning 3 months prior to conception. That is of the normal person. Even the mother who has no family history of neural defects, she is advised to take, when she starts beginning a family, 3 months prior to that, the folic acid. And especially longer for that, those ladies who have a history of neural defects, because it is said, and then they are going to continue it throughout pregnancy, because it's said that this folic acid has a very good role in preventing these neural defects to occur. You see this is anencephaly. The part of the brain is there, part of this is not absent. So अब क्या करूँ? हाँ, ये कर दूँ. Okay, this is anencephaly. Then this is spina bifida. If you can see that it is not closed, the skin is not closed, there is protrusion of your nervous tissue on the outside and a part of the spinal cord on the outside. That is spina bifida, and you can see it is the lumbosacral region, the lumbar vertebra. Then the other thing which develops at this level is the formation, as we've said, that the villi are going to form, heart has to develop, so the blood vessels have to start. So early development of blood vessels has to take place, and early development of the cardiovascular system is not only the formation of the heart, that is the continuity of the blood vessels between the mother and the baby, they have to form the blood vessels as well. Now, how do we form the blood vessels? At the end of the second week, the embryo nutrition is obtained from the maternal blood by diffusion. It is said that through the extraembryonic coelom. But then the baby starts to develop its own blood vessels. There are two processes in the third week, which we call as vasculogenesis and angiogenesis. The vasculogenesis is and the angiogenesis is the formation of the, in the extraembryonic mesoderm and the intraembryonic mesoderm, the blood vessels which are going to connect it with the maternal portion. In the third week, by the formation of these vessels, primordial, I told you before, uteroplacental circulation develops, which is going to link up with the synovius in the maternal portion where we had the syncytial trophoblast. If you recollect that, where we formed this a primordial uteroplacental circulation. Now, how do we form blood vessels? There is vasculogenesis is the formation of the blood vessels. Now, first is we said that mesoderm is the main cell which is going to form the blood vessels. There is collection of these blood vessels which forms, if you see this picture, the C1 is the formation of the collection of these blood cells which are going to form. They're called as the blood islands. Then rifts develop in this blood islands, and then you have cavities formation, and these onto the sides, and then they enlarge and they collect together and they form a gap in between. This is going to form the lumen of the blood vessel. The lining is called the endoderm on the outside, and you have the formation of the lumen of the tube, as you can see in the procedure. And then ultimately these mesoderm cells, they are going to give rise to your blood cells. So vasculogenesis and angiogenesis, the formation of the vascular system, and angio is the formation of new vascular channels by assembly of individual cells, precursors called angioblasts. Okay, that is vasculogenesis. Angiogenesis is once vessels are formed, when they branch and they bud out, that is what we call as angiogenesis. That is, already the vessels have formed, but they are going to branch further and precede the process. So first initial is vasculogenesis, when the vessels are going to develop, and when the preformed vessels, they are going to bud out, branch, they are going to form as, that is the process what we call as angiogenesis. So it's not only vasculogenesis which is going to go on all the time, it's going to form and then it's going to branch and branch and branch and give to a complete network of your blood vessels. How is vasculogenesis I showed you the previous picture, they are mesenchymal cells differentiate into endothelial precursors, what we call as the angioblast. Angio is the term for the blood vessels, which aggregate, we form the blood island. This blood island then develops cavities in it, and these cavities, they collect together, confluence of these clefts, and these clefts ultimately the cells flatten out, and the endothelial cells, these cells are what we call as the endothelium, and the lumen is going to be called as the blood vessel. These endothelial lined cavities soon fuse to form network of endothelial channels. This is what we call as vasculogenesis. So this is how the initial blood vessel is going to be formed. And the cells on the outside, they are going to be called as the endothelium. Vessels sprout from these adjacent by the endothelial budding and fuse with other vessels, and that would be your angiogenesis. So if I show you this picture, this is what exactly is how the blood vessels are formed. The mesenchyme, they form blood islands. The blood islands then onto the lumen of, they form cavities. These cavities are then going to coalesce. It is just exactly the way we form the extraembryonic coelom, and then extraembryonic mesoderm, then extraembryonic mesoderm had cavities. Cavities coalesce together, and we form the extraembryonic coelom. So it's just like that. And then there's fusion, clefts form the cavity inside, and the cells on the outside, they are going to form your endothelial tissue. That is how the vessels are going to form by vasculogenesis, and this vasculogenesis is then going to bud and branch and going to give rise to the angiogenesis, and the vessels are going to increase. The upper two pictures shows you that initial portion is going to form in the umbilical vessel, that is near the yolk sac. The blood vessels are formed in the connecting stalk, and then on the outside in the extraembryonic mesoderm. There are certain areas which are going to first start formation of the blood vessels, and ultimately this is going to expand. So that is why that picture shows you the primordial blood vessels. This is all happening in the third week. Then the blood cells are going to develop from the endothelial cells of vessels at the specialized sites along the dorsal aorta. That is, there are two dorsal aorta, that is the main vessel, which are there on the either side of this uh, body of the developing embryo, which we call as the dorsal aorta, because they lie on the posterior aspect. These develop from the areas next to it, because that is ultimately going to form your main vessel. All these small vessels are going to combine together, and then they're going to form the major vessel, and it is the aorta which is going to connect with the heart, and it is going to go on to the other, all parts of the body. So blood formation, then now first we form the blood vessels, then blood is going to form. That process is called as hematogenesis. It does not begin in the embryo till the 5th week, because first the vessels have to form. First, they are going to form along, as I've written, in the aorta, liver, spleen, bone marrow, and lymph nodes. All these sites take part in the formation. And it's again, it is all the time mesenchyme which is going to contribute into the formation of all these blood vessels and the cells. Fetal and adult erythrocytes derive from different hemopoietic progenitor cells, which we call as the hemangioblast cells. See, mesenchyme is going to form the hemangioblast cells. Hemangioblast cells are going to give rise to your erythrocytes. So again, the mesoderm inside the vessels is going to be converted into hemangioblasts, that is the immature cells, and this is then ultimately going to become your blood cells or the erythrocytes. So how has this primordial cardiovascular system developed? We have developed the part of the heart, where we said in the endoderm, the mesenchyme in front, where you had the oropharyngeal membrane. Then we have formed the blood vessels, we have formed the uh, erythrocytes. Now all this is going to be connected together to form a system, what we call as the cardiovascular system. The heart and the great vessels from mesenchymal cells in the cardiogenic area. That was the area which was there on the, if you remember, on the ventral aspect, where we form the oropharyngeal membrane. That is the site where the ectoderm and endoderm were fused, and in front of that certain amount of mesoderm, it went around the sides of that, and it went onto the ventral aspect of these, and that area is going to be called as your cardiogenic area. That is where the heart is going to develop. Okay, so that is the area where these mesenchymal cells, that is what is saying cardiogenic area, paired longitudinal, because heart is there. So with that, in continuity with that, vessels which are developing, two on either side, which are called your endocardial heart tubes. These vessels are the heart. When it starts to develop, it forms tube, like the way we formed the neural tube. It's going to form heart tubes with line channels. These channels are then going to fuse together and form one heart tube. Initially, two tubes are going to be formed, which is called your endocardial heart tubes. These endocardial heart tubes, they develop in the third week, and ultimately they are going to fuse and they form one tube, which is going to be your heart tube. So this area where we said was your cardiogenic area, this development, again, these are vessels forming in the same way as we formed the vasculogenesis. Then the tubular heart joins with the blood vessels in the embryo. Where these tubes are formed, they're going to connect with the blood vessels which are being formed in the embryo. One is the connecting stalk, in the chorion, in the yolk sac, to form a primordial. So it forms a rough sort of a heart, the heart tubes connected with the blood vessels which are being formed in all these areas. That is your connecting stalk, in the chorion and the umbilical vessel, to form a primordial cardiovascular system. This is exactly what we say. Primordial cardiovascular system is contributed by the in the cardiogenic area by the mesenchyme, two tubes fuse to form one heart tube. This is connected with blood vessels, which are what we call as the dorsal aorta on both the sides. And these vessels, which were formed initially in the connecting stalk, that is where your umbilical cord is going to form, then the chorion on there, next to on the sides, and in around the yolk sac. This all has forming a link from the heart, from the developing heart and the baby and with the mother. End of the third week, the blood is circulating. They say the heart begins to beat about 21st or the 22nd day. So this is the primordial cardiovascular system, and they say that blood starts to circulate at the end of the third week. This roughly is, and the heart also is developing at the same time, and its beating occurs around 21st to 22nd day. So, as I said before, the cardiovascular system. So, all these changes are occurring side by side. Your trilaminar disc was being formed, then we separated the notochord, we started its development, we formed the neural tube, we are forming the blood supply, the blood vessels are being formed, the erythrocytes are being formed, the villi are forming, that is the development or the ground preparation for the formation of the placenta is going on. So all these steps, all these changes are going on side by side. And the most important thing that we need in all this development is the cardiovascular system. So as you can see, the major work is being done at the cardiovascular system. So it is the first organ system which reaches a functional state. That is the first organ, the small heart, maybe then it develops further on, and all these vessels which supply the blood to all parts of the body. So heart is linked up with the mother and the heart and the to the baby, and so a rough system sort of primordial cardiovascular system has developed. The embryonic heartbeat can be detected at this stage by Doppler ultrasonography during the fifth week, right? Approximately 7 weeks after the last normal menstrual period. So that is why we say it is the first organ which starts to develop, and it's and always by ultrasonography, the gynecologists, they try to listen to the heartbeat, and then they are confirmed that it's the mother has conceived and it's the pregnancy is developing, and they assess the age by this level. You see this is the formation of the heart tube. That is the dorsal aspect. These are the two dorsal blood vessels. This is the yolk sac, umbilical vessels. You can see the vessels which are developing in the villi, and that is the into the dorsal aorta. You have the blood vessel developing. We have the umbilical vessel into the yolk sac. We have all this chorion in which the blood vessels are being developed. So you can see there are 3 to 4 areas where these blood vessels are developing, and they are forming a system, and ultimately they are forming a tube, and they are going to be linked up with the in the cardiogenic area with the developing heart. That was, there were first 2 tubes, and then ultimately they're going to fuse to form 1 tube. Okay, so this dorsal aorta, which is there 2 first, then they're going to ultimately divide, and it's just going to be 1 tube, 1 dorsal aorta, and 1 inferior vena cava, which is going to form. So this is a diagrammatic picture of how the uh, primordial cardiovascular system is developing. Okay. So it's the umbilical cord, the yolk sac, the chorion, the development of the heart, the dorsal aorta. All these are the areas where the initial blood vessels are going to develop and link up with the developing heart in the aortic sac. You can see in the developing heart. Okay, that heart tube. So all this linkage up is developing, and you are developing the veins as well. That is all what we are going to label as your primordial cardiovascular system, which is required for the growing embryo. So if you see, it's the first 21st second day you can feel the heartbeat. So it's the first organ that starts to work or function that starts to work is your cardiovascular system. Then we had the formation of the three germ layers, what all gives rise to specific organs. Ectoderm is going to give rise to the central and peripheral nervous system. These are the derivatives. You have to remember these, and you may be asked. The eye, inner ear, neural crest cells, and to many connective tissues of the head. All that is developed from the ectoderm. Endoderm, linings of all the, it's because on the inner side, it is going to be related with your organs. It is the respiratory system, it is the alimentary system, that is the digestive system, glands associated such as liver, pancreas. So all that is going to be related with the development from the endoderm. Then mesoderm, muscles, blood vessels, bones, all the muscles which are there, then the linings, most of the cardiovascular system, the trunk, it is source of connective tissue, cartilage, bone, tendons, ligaments. So a lot of things are being developed from the mesoderm, right? These are the derivatives you have to know them, enumerate them. So now let's recollect all what we have done from the slide when we started. So what happens is the formation of these villi, that is the development of the trophoblast. We have the primary villi, the secondary villi, and the tertiary villi, which are forming a communication. Blood vessels develop, and these blood vessels link up the developing embryo with the mother. If you can see this picture, okay. Then tertiary stem villi, these are the tertiary villi. Then there is going to be, these are the three separate villi. What are the structure of these three types of villi? Then this is the fetal side of the contribution towards the mother or the placenta, which is going to occur. That is your chorionic plate, and then the other portion is going to be the maternal vessels, which are going to be contributed from the maternal side of the placenta. Then neurulation occurs in the third week, that is formation of the neural tube. Neural plate is first formed, and then we have the formation of the neural tube, then the neuropores. These are in communication. This dark blue is all your amniotic cavity, and this tube is still open, and its communication is there with the amniotic cavity until and unless it is closed. Then we form the these neuropores. Then we have what all is the new formation neural crest cells from these margins of the neural tubes. These neural tube cells, these are going to give rise to the basically the ganglia, the melanocytes, which form the pigment cells, hair follicles. All these are going to form. So those are your cells from the edges of your neural tube are going to be called as the neural crest cells. They are going to separate out, and they are going to form this neural crest cells. So these are all the derivatives, right? This picture shows you what exactly is the neural crest cells. Okay, the neural tube. Yeah, you have yellow is the endoderm, uh, red is the mesoderm, and blue is the ectoderm. And you have the formation of the neural tube. The black was your notochord, and these two white tubular structures. These are your development of the dorsal aorta, which is there. So we have the somites, we have the intermediate part, and we have this brown, and then we have the somatic and the splanchnopluric mesenchyme, and this all red is your mesoderm. This is the neural crest cells are separating out, forming your ganglion. Okay, then contributing towards the ganglia from the neural crest cells onto the various cranial nerve ganglia. Then all these defects, microencephaly, anencephaly, and spina bifida. This is the commonest three things which can occur. Spina bifida is quite common. You can see those. And if to prevent this, about before the family is starting, 400 micrograms of folic acid, not milligrams, micrograms of folic acid are advised to the mother, so that it's said that it acts as and continued throughout pregnancy. Once, even if the mother has conceived, that this has a preventive effect on neural tube defects. It prevents from having neural tube defects. Okay, this is anencephaly, spina bifida. Yes, so we form the earliest part is the vasculogenesis has occurred, that is the blood vessels have formed and they are sprouting, and then there is the formation of the blood, that is there. Endothelium is lining the vessels, so blood cells are being formed. The heart tube is slightly developing, so we say it is a primordial cardiovascular system is developing. This picture shows where all blood vessels at initial stage are going to be formed and link up with the heart. Okay. Then the three germ layers, they are going to form in the different organs in the different parts. Now a summary, what just to recollect what all we formed from what happens in the third week. We formed from bilaminar to trilaminar embryonic disc. That was the process of gastrulation took place. Primitive streak, then epiblast and hypoblast. This epiblast primitive streak, invasion of the cells which divided it into the epiblast formed the ectoderm, hypoblast formed the endoderm, and the invaginating cells they formed the mesoderm. And then the interior two portions, which were your cloacal membrane and the oropharyngeal membrane, these are the areas where the ectoderm and the endoderm is still fused, and mesenchyme is not able to separate these three layers. And that was oropharyngeal membrane is the site, landmark where your oral cavity is going to be formed, and cloacal membrane is that area which is demarcated where your anal canal and all those organs are going to be developed. Okay. Then you form the, from the primitive streak, we have formed the notochordal process, which then ultimately forms into the notochord. This is going to form the axial skeleton that forms around which all the axial skeleton is going to develop, and it's the formation of the notochord. Then the neural plate formed, neural folds, neural tube is going to form. Then we form the neural crest cells, and that formed the different ganglia. Then we also talked about the mesenchyme. We said that mesoderm on each side of the notochord is going to condense and form longitudinal columns, which were called the paraxial mesoderm. So endoderm is going to, the three layers are going to form, of which in this stage, the ectoderm is forming the neural tube. Mesenchyme is what is forming the somites, that is your paraxial mesoderm, which are going to form the somites from which the different vertebral column is going to develop. And then your, this was intraembryonic mesoderm. And then we had the extraembryonic mesoderm, which gave rise to your coelomic cavity, isolated spaces, because we formed intraembryonic mesoderm, which was divided into paraxial mesoderm, intermediate mesoderm, and lateral plate mesoderm. Lateral plate mesoderm divided into two, splenoploric and somatoploric. And the area between that was the coelomic cavity. This became continuous with the extraembryonic coelom, or the extraembryonic mesoderm, and then cavities developed into it, clefts develop, and they then coalesce together, and then they give rise to the body cavities. This is going into, there is cephalocaudal folding of the developing embryo. This is going to become the three. They are going to go ventrally. They are going to, that is going to form as your pericardial cavity, the pleural cavity, and the third one is going to be the peritoneal cavity. So these are going to be what we've developed from this coelomic cavity. I think that finished your third week. Then we say the trophoblasts, they give rise to your important thing, that is mesoderm, that gives rise to your endocardial tubes, tubes, primordial cardiovascular system develops, chorionic villi, secondary, tertiary, then the outer cytotrophoblast. So blood vessels are formed, which forms the primordial cardiovascular system is formed in this area. And that is all about the development of the third week. Inshallah, in the next class, we will continue with all this, what continues on to formation in the fourth week. Now, there is some overlap between the formation of structures in the third week and the fourth week. So, I think Langman says fourth to 8th week, but your KLM says third to 8th weeks, the next changes. So, there is nothing but it's just an overlap of the formation of the structures which are there. So it doesn't make any difference whether you say fourth week or third week to eighth week. It is basically what is happening, because majority of the things, many things which we have taught in this level, at this level, there we are going to also study in the third to the eighth week or fourth to the eighth week. So it is just a continuous process which is occurring, and there's nothing something which is hard and fast that it finishes in this area and you cannot take it on. Some process might be earlier and some process might be later on. I hope I've been able to clarify this. So everything is processing step by step. It's not that just one part of the developing embryo is going on. All the elements definitely they are doing their work and they are proceeding on to complete the developing embryo. Okay then. Thank you.